Hey everyone! Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into one of the most talked about shows of the year, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. Season 2. This season has a lot of people talking, and we're here to break it down for you. In this video, we'll be giving a spoiler-free review and critical analysis of Season 2, covering everything from the plot, characters, visuals, and of course, how well it captures that Lord of the Rings magic. Let's get into it. Before we dive into Season 2, let's quickly recap Season 1 and set the stage. Rings of Power introduced us to the world of Middle-earth during the Second Age, a time long before Frodo and the Fellowship. It focused on the rise of Sauron, the creation of the rings, and the forging of alliances between elves, dwarves, men, and even Harfoots. Season 1 left us with plenty of questions. Who is Sauron really? How will the elves deal with the looming threat of their decline? And what role will the mysterious stranger play in all of this? With such a strong foundation, expectations were sky high for Season 2 to up the stakes and deliver even more. So, how does Season 2 hold up? Let's start by talking about the story. Season 2 picks up right where we left off, and it wastes no time in diving deeper into the political intrigue, looming conflicts, and dark forces at play in Middle-earth. One of the standout aspects of this season is the pacing. It feels tighter, more focused. In Season 1, there were a lot of subplots and new characters being introduced, which at times felt a bit overwhelming. This time around, the narrative feels more cohesive. The storylines for key characters like Galadriel, Elrond, and the Stranger become more intertwined, which adds a layer of complexity to the world building. The looming presence of Sauron is felt even more, and you can sense that everything is building towards something epic. Each episode keeps you hooked, with a balance of slower emotional moments and larger, more intense action sequences. But what really works in Season 2 is how it explores the moral grey areas. Characters are forced to make difficult choices, and the lines between good and evil are blurrier than ever. It's not just about the forces of light fighting against the darkness. It's about individuals grappling with their own inner conflicts, which makes the story all the more compelling. Speaking of characters, let's talk about character development in Season 2, because this is where the show truly shines. Galadriel, played by Morfydd Clark, continues to evolve as a character. In Season 1, she was on a relentless quest to track down Sauron, and we saw a lot of her warrior side. In Season 2, we get to see more of her internal struggles. She's still fierce, but there's more depth to her now, especially as she begins to grapple with the consequences of her choices. Her relationship with the other characters, particularly Elrond and Halbrand, takes on new dimensions. Then there's Elrond, played by Robert Aramayo, who really comes into his own this season. His storyline with the dwarves, especially Durin, was a highlight in Season 1, and that bond only deepens here. We see Elrond transitioning from a diplomatic leader to someone who's willing to take more personal risks for the sake of Middle-earth. His journey feels like the heart of the season, especially as the threat of Sauron looms larger. New characters also make their debut, and without giving too much away, they add some exciting new dynamics to the show. Some of these characters are tied to regions of Middle-earth we haven't explored in the show yet, so there's a sense of expanding the world while keeping the core narrative intact. One of the things I love about The Rings of Power is how it handles the themes of power, corruption, and sacrifice, which of course are central to Tolkien's works. In Season 2, these themes are explored in even greater depth. The idea that power corrupts and that those who seek power are often doomed by it is a major undercurrent throughout the season. You see it not just with Sauron's rising influence, but also in the choices the good characters have to make. There's also a lot of exploration of legacy. What do we leave behind, and what do we fight for? Galadriel's story, in particular, touches on the weight of legacy and the burden of immortality. You can feel her grappling with whether her fight is truly for the greater good or whether it's more about her personal vendetta. And then there's the ever-present theme of hope in the face of despair. Even as Sauron's shadow grows, the characters cling to hope, and this mirrors one of the core themes of Tolkien's world, that even in the darkest of times, hope can still prevail. Okay, let's talk about the visuals, because the Rings of Power. Season 2 is, in one word, stunning. If you thought Season 1 was visually impressive, wait until you see what they've done this season. The landscapes, the costumes, the set designs, it's all taken to the next level. The CGI is top-notch, especially when it comes to portraying Middle-earth's vast and varied environments. We visit new locations this season, and each one feels distinct and beautifully realized. From the towering cities of the elves to the rugged dwarven mines and the dark, ominous lands where evil is growing, it all looks incredible. And it's not just the big, sweeping shots that impress. The smaller, more intimate moments between characters are beautifully framed and lit. You can tell that a lot of care went into making sure every shot feels like it belongs in Tolkien's world. It's cinematic in a way that few TV shows can match. Now, let's talk about the music. Composer, Bear McCreary, returns for Season 2, and he continues to deliver a score that is epic, emotional, and perfectly suited to Middle-earth. The music in this season heightens the tension and amplifies the emotional beats, just like it did in Season 1. Each culture in Middle-earth, elves, dwarves, men, has its own musical identity, and you can feel the distinctiveness in each scene. The score doesn't overpower the narrative, but it enriches it, adding layers to the drama and action. I know a lot of fans have been wondering how Rings of Power stacks up to both Tolkien's original works and the iconic Lord of the Rings movies directed by Peter Jackson. Let's address that. In terms of tone, the show still leans more towards the grandeur and mythic storytelling style of Tolkien's Silmarillion, rather than the more grounded feel of The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings trilogy. Season 2 continues this trend, with a focus on epic storytelling, ancient history, and the slow but inevitable rise of Sauron. It feels less like an adventure story, and more like a historical drama unfolding across generations. Compared to Peter Jackson's films, the show feels more meditative and slower paced, which can be a good or bad thing depending on what kind of Middle-earth experience you're looking for. If you love the lore, the slow burn storytelling, and deep character moments, you'll probably appreciate what Season 2 has to offer. But if you're expecting the high-stakes, action-packed feel of the films, the pacing might feel a bit slow at times. Thanks for tuning in to our review of the second season of The Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. We've seen some incredible character developments, stunning visuals, and deeper lore that expands the universe we love. Whether you're a longtime fan or a newcomer, this season has something to offer everyone. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. See you in the next video.